The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
My name is Mark Deister. Well, I've been with Deister Machine Company for 65 years, and thank the Lord, I've been a Christian since I've been 4 years old. I'm also a minister and the president of the company, but today I do a lot of praying and a lot of work with Steve and Bill Bean, and I'm excited that we've got Mike coming. Republican bean dinner, and that took a lot of doing, but I'm so excited. There's still hope for our country.
Oh yeah.
It's questionable, but I think we can get it straightened out.
And also known as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Where have I heard that before? Good to have you all here. Before we begin our program, I think we'll all stand for our pledge and then have a moment of... We're going to introduce candidates right now, but I want to share a little exciting news for you, or with you, and no longer for those who I've asked to keep it a secret after this morning, and that is we have our annual Allen County Republican Party Lincoln Day dinner. It will be on Friday, April the 26th at Cerruti's, and our guest speaker is the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Mike Johnson. So that, once again, it has been shown that Allen County is the place to be.
I am Samantha Chenery. I am the current Chief Deputy Treasurer, and I'm running for Allen County Treasurer, currently unopposed.
Ron Turpin, running for Allen County Commissioner. Look forward to the next few months of talking about the future of Allen County and how we can work together for a better future.
Hand. I'm the current circuit court judge, and I'm running for the election and this year for the circuit court judge. So thank you. Also unopposed.
Okay.
Good morning, Tom Harris. I'm running for Allen County Commissioner and have served on County Council for about 14 years and 4 terms. Would love your support coming up on May 7th. Thank you very much.
Transformed into a real estate portfolio that now exceeds $3 billion.
Okay. Thank you for that great introduction, and thanks for having me this morning, for just showing up, right? 90% of life is showing up, so thank you for being here to listen to a guy who's never done this before. This is the last 8 months for me. 6, 7 months have been a lot of firsts in my life, because I bring fresh eyes and fresh enthusiasm based on a 40-year business experience, based on a 59-year experience of being a Hoosier. And I'm a grateful Hoosier. I'm grateful for my journey, my entrepreneurial journey. As described, I started a landscaping company with 3 buddies when I'm 15 years old. And it wasn't just cutting a few lawns. We actually created a real business out of it. We were borrowing money from banks to buy equipment. We had 2 trucks. I couldn't even drive them because I was 15 and the other partners were 16. And we were getting praised when we did do a good job, right? We were selling, we were paying bills, and we built a real business out of it. And that business allowed me, as a 15, 16, 17-year-old, it allowed me to pay my way through IU. And then sophomore year, one of the partners decided, he said, hey, I'd like to buy the company. I'm like, sure, I'm sick of cutting grass. So we valued the business, and we all got $5,000 checks. Sophomore year at IU, I took my $5,000, and by divine intervention, we all have divine intervention in our lives, $5,000 rental property. Can you imagine back at the IUPOI campus and driving back and forth to Indianapolis with a pal of mine, painting it and putting in new carpet and doing all the things so we could rent it. And that's a sophomore year of IU. And by the time I graduated from IU, I had 31 rental units. I'm blessed, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my Indiana journey. I'm grateful for being able to access the American dream in this state. And gratitude's been a theme in my life. It has not been easy. To know Governor Holcomb, then he asked me, hey, would you step in and run the state's economy as Secretary of Commerce for $1 a year? And I showed up with a 40-year business career behind me, with an intuition about what Indiana could be and what Indiana should be, because I've been a consumer of the state's economy for at that time, 38 years. I had intuition about where we could be going, where we should be going. And I showed up with a plan, urgency, and I ran it like a business and built a great team around me. And the results were unbelievable. $51 billion worth of new inbound investment into the state's never been done before. I believe Indiana's terrific. I believe Indiana's great. We have great people, we have great workforce, great universities, great location, great infrastructure, good leadership. We're a low-tax state. But our GDP growth has been below U.S. average for decades. You know, up and down, but generally below U.S. average. Why has our economic output been below U.S. average? Also, our average wage in Indiana is below U.S. average. Why is that? Because we're great. We should be better. We're not taking full advantage of our potential. And guess what? Those are high-wage industries of the future, jobs of the future. And that's going to keep our college kids here. Because as a state, we need to grow our population. We're a Midwestern state. We're really good. But we're just in the Midwest. And so we got to work harder than Florida does to grow our population, to grow our GDP, grow our workforce. Then that turns into GDP. These high-wage, future-focused jobs can do that. Our kids are making an economic decision when they graduate from school nowadays. We need to provide an economy and a climate where these kids can stay here and want to stay here. And so that's one reason why we need to grow the economy. So my premise as a non-business guy, as a CEO, as someone who's grateful for my Indiana journey, for someone who's lived the American dream in Indiana, is that economic opportunity is fundamental to Hoosier prosperity. And so grow the economy into the future, try to beat GDP growth, try to increase wages. And when people are economically secure and they feel like they have economic opportunity, their education's better, their health is better, their kids are better, their housing's better, and their overall quality of life is better. And oh, by the way, when you're growing your economy, then you have the resources as a state to fix education, to support public safety, to make sure our folks in uniform, our police and our firefighters have the resources they need, to address the mental health crisis in our state, and to deal with the healthcare issues in our state, especially rural health issues. Only by growing the pie, growing the economy, going to get an economy that's good for us, can we then invest in the things that we need to invest in. We have to make sure our educational system continues to improve, get better. It's got issues. Is it fully broken? No, but it needs to be reinvested in. So education, public safety, healthcare, mental health, anything that we need to improve Hoosier quality of life, the only way to do that is by growing our economy. And then guess what? When you have a growing economy and you're investing in Hoosier quality of life, and people feel lifted up and economically secure, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's $50,000 a year, sometimes it's $100,000, whatever it is to you. When you're economically secure, government can get smaller. Crime goes down. Health outcomes are better. Education is better. Government can shrink. It's a virtuous cycle. And I think it takes someone with fresh eyes, a business guy who's grateful for his journey, to come in and do that. I respect everybody in this race, and I think having 5 to 6 people in this race is good for Indiana. I think it's good for democracy. But I bring fresh eyes, I bring urgency, because that's what business guys do. They bring urgency and aspiration and a fresh view. I know how my business is doing, and it's no different as a governor's candidate and or governor. If you're running a state or running an enterprise, you need to listen to the customer, and you guys are the customer. You are the voters, the taxpayers, the consumers of this state. And so I have learned from you as I've listened in these 300 events, and it's ended up in our policies. I am a guy that believes the voters of Indiana are smart, but at least you want to know. And so we've been very deliberate about rolling out policy procedures, policy plans. They're on our website, running the place better. I'm passionate about the mission. And that not maximizing our potential is leaving people behind and making it harder. And that's my whole premise of why I'm in this race, and my wife, dug deep to get involved with me, and I'm super proud of her, my 27-year-old. We're all in. We're excited about the opportunity and feel privileged to be able to be in front of you today. So with that, I'd love to answer some questions.
In this bill, it specifically states, quote, "The general court finds that many atmospheric conditions, such as weather modification, stratospheric aerosol injection, solar radiation modification, and other forms of geoengineering involving the intentional release of polluting emissions, harm human health and safety, the environment, the agriculture, wildlife, aviation, state security, and the economy of the state of New Hampshire," end quote. From 1891 until 1987, there have been 100 United States patents related to weather modification. One from September of 1984 that's entitled "Method and Means for Weather Modification," and another from August of 1987 titled "Method and Apparatus for Altering a Region in the Earth's Atmosphere, Ionosphere, or Magnetosphere." Now, in the documentary titled "What in the World Are They Spraying?", Francis Mangels, a USDA biologist, he explains on how the pristine snow of Mount Shasta has 61 times more aluminum particulates than allowed acceptable by the U.S. government, and that hikers are drinking this poisonous melted snow. Well, how did this aluminum get there? Doctors in this presentation explain how toxic aluminum really is, and the correlation between the increased cases of Alzheimer's disease. Now, at minute 37 in this documentary, Karen Johnson, a former Arizona legislator who spent 8 years in the Arizona House and 4 in the Arizona Senate, she shares her concerns about what she's seeing above the skies above her. She's worried about what's falling from the sky, how it affects her kids, her grandkids, the animals, and everything. So here's my question. Thank you.
What is the question?
If you become governor, what will you do specifically to protect us here in northeastern Indiana, frankly, all of Indiana, the Midwest, and the United States? Will you investigate this and report back to us regarding the geoengineering that's going on over our heads? I don't think any of us want to be sprayed like bugs.
But environmental protection is important. And I think that's what you're suggesting is environmental protection of Hoosiers is important. And we have a Department of Environmental Management. But I'm not going to suggest to you that I'm an expert in every field. What I am an expert on is identifying, listening, number one, identifying challenges, creating strategies to address opportunities in addressing strategies and problems, and building a great team to go tackle those, okay? So I'm clearly not an expert in aerosol particulates, but I do believe it's an important topic. That's what I want. That's what I want to acknowledge. And,
Thank you. I've shared that information
yeah.
with you.
And so what I would do is sit down with the head of our environmental management group and say, let's really study this. Let's get smart on it. And if this is risking Hoosier lives and health, let's deal with it, right? And so thank you very much. I have heard over the years that we have an air quality issue in Indiana, and so I think it falls into the category of air quality, and more specifically. So So thank you for bringing it to my attention. Agriculture is 30-some billion dollars of our economy. It's not insignificant. It's very significant. It's a legacy industry. It's part of our heritage as a state. So ag is super important. What's also happening is ag is getting more efficient with technology. And so we're getting more output per acre of ag land, which takes pressure off being able to inject semiconductors and other industry. Now, you have to have smart growth, right? I think over the last 30 years, we maybe had areas of suburban sprawl when I think we need to manage those resources a little bit better, a little bit denser, to take pressure off expansion into ag and forest areas. So to your point is a good one. Economic growth from these industries is good for Hoosiers. It raises wages, raises quality of life, but not to the detriment of green space and farmland. And I don't think we're doing that at this point because we have 83% farmer forest and we're getting more output for ag land. So our ag industry is actually growing with a smaller footprint as well.
Credentials are amazing. So my question is, how are you going to find the Brad Chambers of healthcare?
Yeah.
How are you going to find the Brad Chambers of mental health? How are you going to find the Brad Chambers of education and make sure that they're a part of your administration? Because the only part that I may respectfully disagree with you about is I think you have to almost do a lot of these things at the same time.
Right.
Because if we don't fix education, you're not going to have the employees
That's right.
to run all these great companies you're
100%.
bringing in. So how are you going to find the right people to do the right things in each of those categories
Yeah.
to bring us all up at the same time?
It's an essential question, and it's about leadership. So in my company, we're listed one of the top employers in Indiana and have been for years, right? I showed up at the Indiana Economic Development Corporation as a $1 a year volunteer, and when I got to that agency, the agency was at the bottom third of state agencies for morale. All right. When I left that agency in year 2, we were at the top of state agencies for morale and worker engagement, and we were also then listed by the Indianapolis Star as the best place to work. So that's investing in culture. It's investing in people. It's being a leader. It's setting a vision. It's encouraging people, and it's hiring great people. So I think that is an essential issue as you look at this candidate field. Who is the most qualified to build dynamic leadership teams? I would contest that I am. I've done it. It's proven. I did it just recently in a state agency. I mean, that agency had never been listed as the best employer in the state of Indiana. And so I believe that there's an excitement about our vision that's attracting young people, young professionals, a lot of them. And those young professionals want to serve, but they want, everybody wants to get behind an exciting mission and vision, right? And so I think our mission, that Indiana is great, but it can be even better, is attractive to people. So I would just say to you, I think leadership matters. I think one of the most important attributes to leadership is humility, number one. I think you have to have humility, aspiration, integrity. But I think one of the most important is humility. Listening to people, believing that you're not always right and that others can be additive to the process, and that comes with humility, right? So I believe that building a culture that's a winning culture of integrity, of urgency, of aspiration, those are critical attributes to leadership and to building a team and moving an organism forward. Confidence comes with humility, oddly, right? And I think Indiana, as a state, we're a bit too humble. We have this great product and we're not taking full advantage of it. And so you got to shoot higher. We can shoot higher. I proved in 2 years we could break records that lift Hoosiers up. And I couldn't have done that by myself. This is not all about me. There's no I in team. It was me. It was this great team. It was Governor Holcomb. It was the legislative leadership. We came together and worked together. And that's the thing about me, is that I've built a good relationship with legislative leadership. They trust me. Start with appreciating everybody's service, right? He's been on the ballot 7 or 8 times. I've been on the ballot 1 time for 4 days. First time I've ever been on a ballot. I am clearly an outsider. He says he's an outsider, but he's not. You know, he's been in politics. He actually voted as a Democrat in the state legislature. So I voted Republican for all of my voting years, and he has not. He has been in both parties, right? I'll give you another contrast. Todd Young courageously sponsored the CHIPS Act. Senator Braun voted it down. I brought in 6 semiconductor companies into the state on the back of Todd Young's courageous leadership, right, to lift Hoosiers up with higher wages. You know, there's, you know, my position around cops is when I was growing up, I was taught you really respect and look up to people in uniform, right, including police officers. And his position on qualified immunity is a slap in the face of cops, just to be candid about it. And he's changed his position and rationalized his position more than once. But going on Tucker Carlson and suggesting that qualified immunity isn't applicable to cops and supporting Black Lives Matter was, you know, it just makes cops' jobs harder, right? And they need to make their jobs easier. They're risking our lives for us every day. So I want to codify that. So those are a few examples. I started a business from nothing, literally, mowing lawns. I think he either bought the business from his father, so he's a business guy, but he's been out of the business for a long time too. So I think the biggest issue is he's been in politics 20 years, I haven't. Again, nice person. Why is he leaving the Senate after 1 term? You know, you go into the Senate understanding it's a 10-year job, right? You know you're going to be a junior senator. You know it's going to take time, you know, to get your seniority. You know, that's a long game role, but he's moving on after one term. So I mean, those are just questions for Senator Braun, right? And I'm glad you asked it. So I think education is a challenge for Indiana right now. We're kind of at a crossroads that we need to do some things to turn the tide on education. We've got 3rd graders who aren't working or who aren't reading going on to 4th grade, right? And I believe economic growth and GDP growth and wage growth literally starts in 3rd grade, whether you can start reading going into your 4th grade year. Because if you can't, you're going to be in trouble your entire working career, which is going to drive the economy down at a macro level, but it's going to make your life tougher, right? So we got to make sure our 3rd graders can read going into 4th grade. That's just one simple, so we got to fix that, number one. But as it relates to workforce, to my point about we need to make sure there's high wage industries to keep the college grads here. We need to make sure that there's clear trade pathways for kids that decide they don't want to make that investment in a college education, right? I've got a nephew. He's 24 years old. The rest of my nephews went to college. He said, I'm not going to college. I'm not going to spend the money, get in debt. I'm going to go get a 2-year degree, and he's now making $120,000 a year, just bought his house as a 24-year-old, and he went the trade pathway route, right? So making sure, starting in 7th grade, that we are clearly articulating that you can build a great life in Indiana and build a great family in Indiana through plumbing, HVAC, metalworks, welding. I also like a healthcare and health sciences trade pathway, and I also like a civics pathway, and I'm really excited about a civics pathway. And what I call a civics pathway is, again, back to when I was growing up, make a living being a cop, make a living being a firefighter, or an EMT, or a National Guardsman. Let's tell people that those are not just jobs, those are careers, right? So create career pathways for civics and health and life sciences and trades, and make sure that kids know that those are options, that it's not only college, right? So college is important. I mean, we need to educate our kids, but we also need to equally focus on building a great life and a great living in however they define it. So it's a super good question.
My other question is I'm high school track and field coach here in Fort Wayne too, and my concern is, what are you going to do as governor with all those transgender athletes?
Yeah.
Would you allow them to compete with females? Because I see it really clear.
Yeah, so, I mean, just personally, this is an opinion. I don't believe boys should be running girls track, period. I just, you know, but I want to also be empathetic about that, right? Because there's families that are dealing with that. That's tough stuff, right? So we just got to understand that those families who are dealing with it are having a tough time. But I just don't believe that biological male should be running in a girls' track meet. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Time for one more.
Yes, sir.
First day in office will be.
Gosh darn it! I get this question all the time, and I have my first day in office list, but I can't go cheat. And I always do this, like, what is my first day in office? It's got to be about bringing the team together, painting this new vision of where we want to take this state, right? And establishing a framework of aspiration and just kind of setting the target that's higher and farther out into the future. I think you start there, you know, and next time you see me, ask me that again, I'll have a better answer. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate you having me.
So you can leave here with a clear conscience. A final question from yours truly, the chairman. What's your favorite color? Guess he doesn't want to answer that one. What's your favorite color?
Oh, car and color?
Color.
Oh, it's got to be like IU red.
Okay. Good. Gave you a chance for that. Very good. I want to thank all of you for being here today. I neglected to say hello to my good friend Mark Deister, one of the most prolific fundraisers for the Allen County Republican Party. Brandon, you're here. Thank you for your help in the precinct organization, as well as Christine Gilsinger, my vice chair, who I am probably going to be responsible for sending her to the grave. I've worked her so hard over the past couple of weeks. Lana Kiesling, thank you, Lana. You were fantastic. Sue Richards is here. Where is Sue? I saw her. Sue is here, who helps us keep the Republican headquarters open. Just a couple of dates. Very good. A couple of dates I want to remind you of again. On March 16th, we will have our final gubernatorial candidate here. That will be Suzanne Crouch. And don't forget, on April the 26th, Lincoln Day, tickets are going to go on sale, I believe, March 7th. And I really anticipate that we will be sold out within a week. So please, if you want to make sure you have a seat, we tried to get two larger venues, and both of them were already booked. The Grand Wing and the Coliseum were booked for that evening, but our friends at Cerruti's have made some arrangements to make sure we can get just around 600 people in there. So that will be on April the 26th. Any questions? Yes, Tom.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that the GOP Luncheon Club, our next meeting is Wednesday, the 28th of this month, and we're planning to have our congressional candidates at this lunch. So I'd love to have everybody out.
So you're extending the lunch for a 4-hour period then? Is that right? Lana, you had something?
We have the women's group meeting after this at 10:30, and Ashley and Samantha Chenery are speaking at that. So 10:30, 11:30, if anybody wants to stay.
I told you I was killing her, and she's just showed that. Anybody else have anything they would like to say before we adjourn? Well, once again, I want to thank Brad Chambers for coming today, for making Fort Wayne a pit stop. We appreciate it. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will be talking with you soon. Thank you so much for coming.